She is a recovering anorexic. It started when she was around 13 years old. Her body had started changing and she became self conscious about how she looked. And that's when the whole thing started. She started restricting herself from eating, and it created a huge problem in her life. Last summer, she finally began to take steps towards recovery, and we're going to be talking to her about something as pertinent as this. And I think it's very important for us to join her and listen to her story to be able to understand how important it is to look at ourselves in an appreciative light. And becoming anorexic is a very difficult thing. There's loads of challenges that come with it. And this is what Maria is going to be speaking to us about this afternoon. A very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for joining us on the Nafeesa Dangor Show, all the way from South Africa, Maria.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
It's such a pleasure having you from all that side of the world. I'm so excited to see you joining me all the way from Ohio. How's the day up there doing today?
It is snowy today. It is really snowy. We got some snow overnight.
Oh dear. Well, after about 2 weeks, we seem to be having some sunshine today. So I think everybody's enjoying that out there. I hope you're keeping safe during this very difficult COVID period.
Absolutely. You as well.
We're talk to us a little bit about yourself. You've been doing some phenomenal stuff with yourself, TikToks, working at a call center, trying to entice yourself into a better space through your challenge that you, of course, encountered. So let's start panning out that journey and talking about the situation that you found yourself in and what stemmed from it.
Okay. Well, when I was around 12 or 13 years old, I went through puberty and my body was changing as it does. And that was really difficult for me. A lot of kids that were still the same age as me hadn't gone through that yet. And I seemed to be growing a lot quicker than everybody else. And I became really self conscious of that really early. And it just started from there, a couple kids commenting, little bully comments here and there. I slowly started restricting what I was eating. And then over the years, it just seemed to get worse. And really, it's taken me my entire, young adult life to realize that it was a really big issue for me. And last year was when I decided, it's enough with it now. And let's, work towards recovery.
It's nice to see the turnaround happening, but let's talk about the challenges you encountered. It probably wasn't an easy one being surrounded by people that looked at you in a different light. And then for you to be able to then, of course, think about what they were saying and say, is it really like that? Or am I that type of person? And it affected you on a psychological level where you looked at yourself to say that I'm not good enough. This is not the person I need to be. Whereas there was so much value attached to you. And I don't think you realized that at that particular point.
Absolutely. Yeah. At the time, that was all I could think about was how I looked, what other people thought of me. I was so self-conscious. Everything that I wore, I constantly was thinking about, are people watching me eating? Are people, as concerned about it as I was, when it really wasn't, anyone else's concern. It was all me and up in my, mental headspace of what was going on. So that was hard. And especially as you're a teenager, you're so self-conscious anyway. So all of that amplified.
Yes, and it was probably very difficult. How did it make you feel as a person? A lot of the times when you're a teenager, you're in that space where, of course, you so engrossed and wanting to know how other people perceive you, as though instead of you looking at yourself and saying, I perceive myself with having loads of value, and little things like this that they do to you makes you feel as though you don't have it, as though they're stripping it from you a step at a time.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, it made me feel like, that was all I was boiled down to was just my body type. My weight was everything. If I wasn't at a certain weight, I wasn't a good person or, something like that. It was really, it was myself personally, but, I thought, everybody else must be thinking the same thing. If I'm thinking that, everybody else must be thinking it too.
So how difficult was this journey for you? I mean, let's talk about that journey that you went through, having to look at yourself and say, this is where I'm at now, but I don't want to be here anymore. What was that self-awakening for you? What was it that made you realize that, whatever it is that they're saying is so untrue, and it's not the person that you are? This is not Maria. Um, the Maria is somebody completely different, somebody with value, somebody that can do so many different things and that has so much of potential, yet holding it back just with this one particular comment.
Absolutely. I really took me realizing that is taken up a huge chunk of my life. That I was so concerned about what I was eating, what I was weighing. It was holding me back from doing things, socially with friends. Even as an adult, I would constantly, if they wanted to go out to a restaurant, I was constantly thinking about, well, what am I going to be eating at the restaurant? What if, there's other people there, they're going to be watching me? What if I don't get the right meal that everybody else is getting? It was even holding me back in, my adult life. And it finally took me until last summer. I was like, wow, this has been going on for, almost 15 years now. It's, time. I can't keep doing this to myself anymore. It's time to let it go. And, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and it's really, there's other things to focus on.
Sure. And I mean, now that you're talking about that, I'm sure there's a lot of psychological implications as well, as far as your mental health is concerned. And as it is with the pandemic alone, people have been experiencing a lot of mental health issues. But I think your experience started already then with the mental health situation, because what happens is the minute people start actually manipulating you in that type of manner, it affects you from a physical as well as a mental level. And I think a lot of the times we don't actually realize that.
Right. And it's taken me, all this time to finally realize that. And it wasn't until something big like the pandemic hit for something, to finally awake within me, that, it's time to take care of myself finally.
I so relate to you because, I always talk on my show about how this pandemic, people are always looking at the pandemic with the negatives. And I look at it with the little positives, as you say, the little things that make you change your life. And there's there's 3 R's that I look at with that, is retrospecting and reflecting. And I think those 2 R's, reflect and retrospect, is so apt for you, because this is what it taught you. It kind of grounded you and made you understand that where you're at is not where you want to be.
Exactly. So for that part, I'm grateful for that part, that it's kind of, awoken that in me, to finally take care of myself.
Yes. And I'm so grateful to see that you're in a better space right now. So let's talk about the Maria now. It's so exciting to see a person. I want other people that are going through similar situations to understand what it took for you to be able to change it for the better, and the realizations that go with it, so that they can also change their space from this anorexic space, which we know it's fatal. I mean, at some point you are going to die if you actually don't give it up. And having to look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, I'm beautiful irrespective of what size I am. Let's put it that way.
Exactly. It's taken me a long time, but I finally was able to look in the mirror. It took some, looking at other people online. There was a whole body positive movement on social media that I discovered, and that really helped me along my journey. And it makes me feel better that I do my eating videos on TikTok to help other people. I get messages almost every day from at least one person saying that my videos help them, eat their first meal of the day. It made them look at themselves and help, them towards recovery as well.
And I think that's absolutely phenomenal, because what you've done is, you've taken your situation and enticed others into looking at themselves in a better light. So basically, you've kind of uplifting them in some way to say, look at yourself. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Just maybe change your eating habit, and everything will be fine after that. And you don't have to look at yourself in should we say, a negative light as such? Because I think what in a lot of cases what happens is when people start looking at themselves in that particular light, that's when they start going downhill, and the anxiety and the depression and everything else takes over. And I'm sure you experienced that during your anorexic period.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I've experienced all sorts of mental health issues, anxiety, depression, um, and that really, they all coincided with each other. So yes, all of that did, affect one another, and when one was bad, the
Mhm.
others would get worse as well.
Maria, what did it mean for you when you're doing these TikTok videos and you know that somebody's watching it and they're getting, should we say, uplifted, and they're coming to this realization where they can also be in a better space like how you are right now. What does it mean for you? Have you found your purpose in being able to help uplift others and give back in some way?
Yes, it makes me feel good because I wish there was somebody like that was doing the same thing that I'm doing now when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, social media wasn't really a big thing. People were
Mm.
talking about it as openly. And I wish somebody was there when I was 13, as I was scrolling through. I wish I could see somebody say, it's okay, that you feel this way and we're going to get you help. So it makes me feel amazing that, somewhere out there in the world, somebody, could be scrolling by and see it and they could be, on their way to recovery as well.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely phenomenal because the thing is, as I was saying, I mean, you're using it to actually entice people into a better space by just having a look at this. It's such a form of inspiration because you tell yourself, just from watching Maria and seeing the types of things she eats, gives people some form of direction. I think in a lot of spaces, when people find themselves in a difficult situation, they actually do not know where to start. That's what I always say. And they need direction from somebody. So having to look at this particular TikTok video actually helps them find their direction a step at a time.
Exactly, exactly. Even somebody who's, maybe thinking about it or doesn't know that it's an issue yet, if they come across it, they can look more into it and do more research for themselves and realize, hey, this might be an issue for me as well. So I'm so glad that I have the opportunity to do that for other people.
How has it been for you recently, knowing that you've overcome such a serious thing and you actually now moved on into a very different type of space that you were at when you started off?
Oh, it makes me feel incredible. It's a huge weight off my shoulders. It's, one less stress. I don't have to worry about, um, I'm not counting calories. It's not taking up a big portion of my day. I'm no longer, logging all of my food that I'm eating. It's just a huge burden that is, taken off of me. So,
And you're talking about a burden, and I always say one thing: like people that are doing drugs or people that are in situations where they're anorexic or they're bulimic or things like that. It doesn't just only affect you. I'm sure this has affected your family as well, where having to see you in a space where they feel so helpless and they're trying to reach out to you, but they don't know what it is that they can do to be able to actually make it better. And I think this is the realization where you've come in to be able to do these videos to kind of help people and say, you know what, there is some form of a support structure out there.
absolutely, yes. It's gotten better over the years. I feel like I can participate more in family activities now because food was such a huge factor for that. So I think this will help other, even families as well. If somebody sees that and maybe they notice, a family member or a loved one is going through the same thing, it might, help them towards getting that person recovery as well.
We're so proud of you down here in South Africa. It's so phenomenal to see that a person can have so much of resilience and perseverance and change their space that they're in, and with something as serious as anorexia. And as I think a lot of people don't realize what a serious disease this actually is. It becomes a disease because it's something that you get up with every day and tell yourself, I'm not going to eat, because you look at yourself in the mirror and you think you literally, from your mind perspective, think that you're 10 times your size when in actual fact you're not.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm just so glad that this is something that I can help others towards, and I'm so glad that finally I can move forward with my life and go in a more positive direction.
I see that you're looking absolutely amazing today, radiant. Where do you see yourself going towards the future?
I'm hoping to do more body positive content, more recovery videos. I'm hopefully going to branch out further with that, maybe work with some more companies to bring more awareness to the disorder and to help others on their recovery journey as well.
I think that's absolutely phenomenal. It's so nice to see you being so selfless, realizing that the type of situation you were in, there's so many other people that need reaching out to, and you actually taking that platform. And as you were saying, I mean, when you were young, there was nobody to reach out to. You had to actually, go out and help yourself, literally. Whereas now you have become everybody else's support structure. And we would like to commend you on that. I think it's something phenomenal because you'd be able to stop so many people from actually committing suicide as well, because this is what happens when you're anorexic. Eventually it reaches the stage where you just literally give up on life.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm so grateful that I can help people. I wish there was a resource like this when I was younger. So that's all I'm really
Mm.
do is to, reach out to people and get them help that I wish I would have had.
Yes. Maria, what message would you like to leave our viewers with this afternoon?
Love yourself. You're perfect the way you are. We have one body. We might as well love it because, we're in the middle of, a pandemic and we have this one body to get us through it. And we really, need to love ourselves for who we are, no matter what we look like.
Yes. What has the pandemic been like for you there in Ohio?
It's been okay. Of course, there's been some hurdles. It's gotten better over the last few months. Got more used to it. At the beginning, that was definitely different for everyone. I'm pretty sure, around the world, everything changed. But in terms of my disorder, it really has actually affected me in a great way. It really helped me move towards recovery.
So it brought on some positive changes, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But we want to thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. You've been a true inspiration for people out there that are facing serious challenges like anorexia, bulimia, having to want to commit suicide due to the types of mental wealth spaces that they're not in. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to join us here in South Africa and entice us to think about the types of challenges and spaces we're in. And that, of course, you've shown us that we can get over it irrespective. So thank you so much. We do wish you a safe space going through this pandemic. Is not very easy. And all the success going forward, because I think what you're doing is absolutely phenomenal, reaching out to as many people as that. And we would like to catch up with you at some point to be able to see how many people you've reached out to and what it's meant for you. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself from myself and the Nafeesa Dangor team. A very good afternoon.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Maria Lynn giving us some inspiration this afternoon on anorexia and how she's overcome it, a very serious fatal disease, as we know. And she's overcome it by herself. And now going through all of that, she's realized that she can become a support structure to all those people that actually don't have it out there. I think it's something absolutely phenomenal that she's doing. We're going to go for a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be back with you in a moment.